Joining me today is Jack Savage, who's the Vice President of Communication and Outreach for the Forest Society. So Jack, we're talking about sort of the long-range plans and protection, and you know, one of the areas in our region in New Hampshire is the Mount Sunapee expansion, and the Forest Society opposed sort of the expansion of the ski trails. Talk to me a little bit about your thought, the Society's thought process. What were the issues that you saw?
Sure. So first, let me go back and remind people that the Forest Society got involved in Sunapee early on, 1911, where we worked with Mr. Welsh to actually protect land up on Mount Sunapee. Ultimately, in the 40s, we conveyed that land to the state, and it's at that point that the state began running part of as a state park and a ski area. And so we've always had a connection to that place, and we've always worked to protect the land and the experience around Sunapee. And so that's why we've long been engaged there. The Forest Society did not see the need for an expansion of the ski area. And we advocated against it with Governor Lynch. I think we were disappointed that the state lost a lawsuit over the terms of the lease, and that led to opening the door to considering an expansion. We tried to work in a productive way with DRED and with other stakeholders to make sure that the process was appropriate, but most importantly that if the state was going to consider this, that they did some things that didn't lead to the same situation again. It was clear to us that some of the understandings and lease terms that were entered into with the operators of the ski area were not as clear as they should have been from the get-go, and in particular, we wanted to make sure that if a new ski lift was built, that the land on which it was built was part of the state park before that occurred. And we're always trying to think well down the road. What happens when climate change makes it so that skiing isn't as viable on Sunapee? What happens to the infrastructure that's supporting skiing at that point? What happens to the land that infrastructure is sitting on? We're not thinking just 20 years down the road, but we're thinking 100 years down the road. Ultimately, though, we were frankly disappointed that the state decided to go forward with the expansion. But once again, we're trying to think a century ahead. What happens down the road? And what we heard as we listened to the citizens in and around Sunapee talk about this was that they were worried not just about the expansion of the ski area, but what that would mean for surrounding lands. In particular, for some land that people associated with the ski area own that have been envisioned as having the potential for a condo development that would really sort of commercialize and privatize the whole state park ski area experience in a way that would change the community and change the feel and culture. And so from what we can do in a situation like that is if you have a willing landowner, we can see if there's the opportunity to permanently conserve that land, either through a conservation easement on it that would prohibit the commercial development of residences there, or by acquiring it outright, by buying it.
And are you working with the landowners to try to get conservation
We hope
easements?
to speak with the landowner at some point about doing that. When you're working on a conservation project, it starts with a willing landowner, right? You have to have someone who owns land and has rights, who's interested in having that conversation.
And they're not selling the land; they're just selling the certain rights to the use of the land.
Well, I should temper that. So when you
we have about 30 seconds to sort of clarify.
We have not had a direct conversation with the landowner.
No, but I mean just in general.
In general, if you put a conservation easement, you essentially convey the development rights to a conservation organization like ours, or we might acquire it entirely, so that we would own the land. Again, if the landowner is interested in in selling.
And we're out of time in this segment, but we're going to continue our conversation focusing on the Black Forest area of Sutton and Warner. So please stay with us.